So, hello everyone, and welcome to Wilson Waffling Live. And this is Wilson Waffling Live, episode number 7, Frolicking in Nature. This Wilson Waffling is recorded on Sunday, the 29th of June 2014. And this week's Wilson Waffling is sponsored by my mom because she is a nice person and for no other reason at all. So thank you, Mom. And plus, maybe because I don't have any other sponsors. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Wilson Waffling Live. To start off with, you might have noticed that there was a few ads. Now, as you might know, or you might not know, I actually broadcast this through Ustream and then upload them to YouTube. So Ustream is where I blog it live, and then I upload it later to YouTube. Now, unfortunately, my 30 days trial has been completed with Ustream. So now if I wish to continue, I have to pay for it. So I'm going to see how it goes and then see whether or not Wilson Waffling Live continues or not, and how I plan to do it in the future. So if you are watching along, then please by all means log into the chat room at tinychat.com/iWilsonYFJ, and you can join the chat room there and have a chat if you wish with other people that come along, if anybody does. If you're watching this on YouTube, then of course, sadly, that is not available. Sorry about that. So what have we got planned for today? Well, it's entitled Frolicking with Nature, and we've got the usual sort of like segments of the show, and we also have an update with Wilson Waffling and seeing what's going on there, and also have a look at Twitter as we go along, and a new feature at the end which is called Shout Outs, which you might want to get involved in at a later date. So to start off with, remember that if you wish to tweet me, then my Twitter handle is iWilsonYSJ, and you can send that along. And as you can see, I do have my Twitter feed already there, and if we need to sort of like go and have a look at that halfway through the show, so we got that if we need it, but if nobody comes along, then that's absolutely fine. So first things first, we will go on to the image of the day. So the image of the day, remember, is a time that a moment I have a look at something that I've tweeted, an image, and we have a look to see how we could use this for educational purposes, shall we say, educational purposes. So first things first, here is the image. Now, remember, all my images comes from the-scientist.com, and this one is, well, what you can guess what it looks like. It looks like a bunch of cacti or cactuses, and if you thought that, then you would be right. The title of here is the image of the day, Colossus cacti. And it's interesting that this is from the Galapagos, and it's about 12 to 20 feet tall, where they can't be reached by giant tortoises. Giant tortoises, how exciting. So what would we be using this this image for in education? Well, one thing that I'm really keen about is the idea of working with other settings and getting the children to actually write about other settings, and sort of like getting them to write descriptively about it and imaginative about it. And often we give them an image to start off with, and this image I thought would be something, a bit of a change from the old-fashioned haunted house. So rather than having yet another haunted house, I thought, well, why not use something like this, the idea of this sort of like cactus, and what could live there, and what could be eating them, or what could be living or using them. So also getting the children to describe the setting, having a look at what the setting looks like, who could live there? What could live there? You know, and it's interesting that it talks about giant tortoises. What other giant animals or reptiles or mammals could actually live there? So remember, you can go along and you can follow my images on Pinterest if you wish. And that is Pinterest, iWilsonYSJ. And of course, you can keep up to date with that what appears on anything that appears on my Twitter feed. Okay, so that's the image of the day. And remember, if you want to go along and see any of those, the regular images are produced by the website, which is www.the-scientist.com. So now on to an exciting area or exciting part of the show, which I often call my poll. Okay, and poll as in P-O-L-L. And this is a time that I often present a question and nobody answers it, or a few people do. Thank you, those few people. And we have a look at the outcome. Now, normally I would do this every week, but what I've decided to do is not to do it every week, but to do it once a month. So the poll will be up for the whole month. So it's currently coming to the end of June. So you've got a bit of time to go and have a look at this before next Saturday. Or next Saturday is when I create Wilson Waffling Live. So it'll be next Sunday when you can see the results. And the results, the poll was, if you remember, was to do with your favorite year group of teaching. What is your favorite year group of teaching? And you had to decide which one it was, and you could have a vote. And you can see it here down the side of Wilson Waffling there. And the idea is that you could just pick one of these and decide which one you think was your favorite age group to teach. And you can select multiple choices. So if you want to choose like 3 and 4, or nursery and foundation stage, or a year 1 and 2, then you can do that. And I am absolutely amazed at the present moment in time, because we are currently up to 25 votes. Yes, I'll say it again, 25 votes. Now, just to put that into a bit of perspective, the first time I did it, we got 9 votes. This time we're up to 25 already. So if you haven't voted, nip along to Wilson Waffling Live, and if you go along there, you'll be able to see just down the left hand side, there's the voting thing, and you can go and have a click and then get your vote registered before next Saturday. So go along, get it before next Saturday, and you will then be part of the final vote. That you will be part of the final vote, and you can say, I voted on Wilson Waffling Live. So really excited about that. 25 votes. And it's just, would you believe, it's just, no, it was 24, it's now 25. So it's not during this session. Well, pretty, yeah, almost like throughout this session. It's now up to 25, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So next on the schedule after poll of the week is, of course, the tweet of the week. So this is when we look at things that I have tweeted, and I have a look to see what I've tweeted, and we have not a discussion, but we have a look at the interesting things that I've tweeted about. So first things first, this came up. And this is called, as you might gather from this episode, Frolicing with Nature. There's a sort of like a nature theme with this this session. And you can see here that, sorry, somebody says entered the room, then left the room. Entered the chat room and left the chat room. Thank you, that person. So here we are. Here's today's, and this is celebrating National Insect Week. Now, I think this was a couple of weeks last week or so, but what's fantastic images on this celebrating National Insect Week here. Really interesting images. And I was going to put this in the image of the week section, but I decided to put it in tweet of the week so we could spend a little bit more time. Lots of educational value that we can get out of this. This is wonderful for camouflage, talking about camouflage. And look at this. Look at how iridescent this insect is. So, and also the line of symmetry here, almost a perfect line of symmetry there. Now, don't worry, it is about insects, so there'll be no spiders coming up here. So if you are a bit worried that a spider's going to come up, do not worry. And so lots of beetles though, symmetrical beetles, which is fantastic. Nice giants, almost like stag beetle. It's not a stag beetle, but it's a nice looking beetle. This was the one I really like. This almost like this insect, this almost like moth that it's actually an insect rather than a moth, I think. But look at the feathered wings on that. So that was one of my tweets of the week, and I thought that was really good. And well, really good, that's not very good, isn't it? Really spectacular, and something that you could sort of like share with the children and also have a look at it, but also go out and actually try to find some of these insects. And of course, as you well know, I prefer to call them insects or arthropods than mini beasts, mainly because I always think something like a mini beast, it could be a chihuahua, which is like a mini beast, so I tend to call them insects and arthropods and things like that. So the other piece of news or tweet of the week, and this is taken directly from my Twitter feed, was this. And this was a tweet of the week in the sense that it was a tweet that I tweeted, or on Twitter naturally, that was sent to me via Audioboo FM. Now, Audioboo is where the podcast of Wilson Waffling is actually stored and broadcast to iTunes. So if you listen to that up at the top of Wilson Waffling and the blog, then this is where it's stored, and it was featured. And I got very excited, and I nipped along to Audioboo to see whereabouts it was featured, and I quickly searched down the list, and I searched and loaded more pages and came right the way down, and I got up to sort of like page 15 of load more pages and saw nothing at all. And then I realized it was featured in the education section, which yeah, I know. So I went along to education, and there it was up at the top, Wilson Waffling, and the podcast Fun with Nature 1 was there. And I think there was 3 other podcasts there. So that was a nice piece of news that I had, and I tweeted it, and that was a tweet of the week. So not necessarily something that was to do with education, but also sort of like self-promotion. Self-promotion, I think that's called. Self-promotion, but I was quite proud of that, quite proud that it actually happened. So remember, if you would like to go along and listen to the podcast version of Wilson Waffling every week on a Sunday, then you can go along to Audioboo, or you can subscribe to me directly on iTunes. So if you go to iTunes, there is, and search for Wilson Waffling, there is a button there. You can subscribe directly from iTunes to get the blog, the weekly blog post. So that's Wilson Waffling tweet of the what I tweeted during the week. So next we are going to nip along over to Wilson Waffling and have a look at this week's Wilson Waffling posts. Okay, so if you remember, Wilson Waffling goes out every Sunday, and I write a blog post every Sunday, and then Wilson Waffling with Minecraft goes out on a Tuesday, and then there's another post of some description on the Thursday. So, and this week's Wilson Waffling there's been 2 blogs throughout the week, if you've been keeping up to date. So the first one was this one, and this one was discussing whether or not technology could replace face-to-face teaching. So, the idea that could technology replace face-to-face teaching, and this one is this in this waffle I talk about the advantages of technology on things like whole cohort lectures and collaborations and things like that, and whether or not this is something that will progress, we think, or may not progress, or will go down, or whatever. And this one, the Thursday blog doesn't have actually a podcast assigned to it. So this is just sort of like a ready one. So you would have to go along and read this. But it's interesting that I talk about participation and whether or not you need to be close, actually at the area, in the hall, in the lecture hall, in the classroom to actually listen to it or watch it, and whether or not it's better to have these actually presented online, similar to this, or on YouTube. Also, the impact of repeat, so you can go back and watch it again and again and again, and also maybe even extended collaboration and actually using technology to actually work together after the lecture. So that was the Thursday blog post. So that was face-to-face teaching. And of course, today's blog post has been the second part to Wilson Waffling Fun with Nature. So if you remember, the first part was all about building nests and playing bird bingo, and this is Wilson Waffling Fun with Nature 2, and I called it Just When You Thought It Was Safe. Okay, and in the idea to sort of like promote the second part of something, and whether or not the second part is more scary than the first part, so to speak. So this is just when you thought it was safe to go back into the dungeon, so to speak, and essentially this is the second part to Fun with Nature. This is Fun with Nature 2. So here's the podcast, so you can see the podcast if you wish to watch it or listen to it, sorry. And then we've got Bird Holidays here, which is all about when looking at migration and linking that to geographical skills, and having a look at what's the purpose of migration, and some ideas there about how to encourage the children to sort of like understand the distances involved that the birds fly, and also what they need, and to sort of almost like improve geographical skills there. And then further down, we've got the expedition into the wilds. Okay, and this is when we actually went out and about to the local university, not the university I work in, but the other university. And we actually looked and went bird spotting and having a look at identifying the birds, and actually not taking pictures because we didn't have the technology then, but actually understanding how to identify the birds, and the use of binoculars and things like that. The other thing that is in the blog post is the way that lakeside birds were a lot easier to identify, and this is why I took the children there, so I could actually it gave them time to actually view the birds rather than trying to train the binoculars on as they went shooting across or something like that. And if you're going to do this with the kids, taking them to a lakeside or somewhere where the birds are quite static is a real beneficial way for them to sort of like get that identification. It also means it's a lot easier for you rather than pointing, can you see that one? Quick, 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 like that. So you actually have the time to sort of like work on the identification. The I also talk about the common garden birds that the children got to identify, and also the final part of this blog post is all about how technology could actually be used, this last part here. And that talks about how technology could be used and how children could be encouraged to use things like notability and videoing and creating databases or with junior viewpoint, etc. So that's all there, and there's a nice little picture there of what the children called out for the different animals, the identification of the birds. So if you want to go along and have a look at that, then that is actually live now. You can go and have a look at Wilson Waffling Live, and if you wish, you can stick a comment there, or I should get a Facebook like button. That's what I should do. I should get a Facebook like button so people can just go like rather than saying anything. I think that would probably get me some likes, or maybe show. But I must admit, a lot of you actually like it on my Wilson Waffling page, which is excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That is really, it's nice, and it's really good to see that you're participating and having a click on that. Talking about clicking on things, you will be aware that next week will be when I draw out or decide on my app, on my Decide Now app, the winner of this month's of June's I Waffled with Wilson badge. And if you remember, I have this app for the iPhone and my iPad, and I'm going to be selecting anybody who's tweeted or has made a comment anywhere, and I'm going to put you on the Decide Now and spin it round, and then whoever it stops on will receive a I Waffled with Wilson badge. And at the present moment in time, remember, I only think there's 3 of these. There's about 3 of these in existence, so there's plenty of places you can comment. My Twitter feed is sort of like there. You can see that at the moment. Remember, you could also contact me on Twitter or on Google Plus, or on Facebook, or leave a comment, email, anything you wish. Now, just so you know, there are currently 5 people on the list. Here's the 5 people. So those are the only 5 people who are actually on the list at the present moment in time. So if you would like to go and get on that list, then do it soon. Do it soon, okay? Because at the moment there's 5. So if you can get along and get on there, then you might get up to number 10 or something, and you'll have a better chance to sort of like receive that I Waffled with Wilson badge. Okay, so keep an eye on that, and interact and get some engagement going and see whether or not you can win the next lot of the badge. And nobody in today's show, I don't think I've got any viewers at the moment, so most people will probably catch up with this on YouTube. So what else do we have to talk about today? Well, we talked about fun with nature, and the other one that I would like to, the other blog post that I would like to draw your attention to is one that I don't think we've talked about before, but earlier on in Wilson Waffling Live, we were talking about the nature picture. We're talking about the nature picture and the cactus, and this one is all about teaching descriptive writing. So if you would like to have a look at the various ways to teach descriptive writing, then nip along to Wilson Waffling, and if you just search in the Wilson Waffling page to teaching descriptive writing, you'll be able to see this. And the important thing about here, down at the bottom, look, just here, there's a picture of the I Waffled with Wilson badge. So remember, if you're engaging and interacting, then that's the badge that you will be looking for, and hopefully gaining. You never know. So that might be within a few months, you might actually have that badge. Well, at the end of this month. Now, before we go any further, and this is normally just a half an hour show, so we're up to about 23 minutes. So I apologize if you've had to suffer any ads throughout this, but if you probably understand that if you were watching the beginning of the live show. This show is turning into more of a, rather than a live show, is turning into a more of a YouTube show at the moment. And so and that's mainly because there's not a lot of interaction available at the moment. The chat room has just gone down and there's no one in this chat. So but I'm going to be thinking about some ideas, some new ideas to sort of like interact with you guys. So hopefully I might get some more people to actually come and have a chat and interact on live on a Sunday afternoon. It might be that we might change the time, I don't know. But talking about something new, what I thought I will put in the show, and we'll do it this week and see whether or not, and then we'll see whether or not anybody else would like to have a shout out, and we're going to have a Wilson Waffling shout out. So if you're interested in having a shout out, so it might be for just your own organization, it might be for something that you're doing, or it might just be to get more followers on Twitter. Okay, now I'm not guaranteeing anything. Remember, I currently get about 11 views on YouTube. Okay, 11. So don't think you're going to get a huge amount of publicity from this. We're talking 11 views. Okay, so and I only have 22 subscribers. But if you would like a shout out, then get in touch in the usual way. And this week, I would like to shout out to somebody who makes fantastic music. And if you're from university, you might know this person. And this person, his name is Josh Burnell, and he writes this is his album on iTunes. So he writes some wonderful music. Not only about The Hobbit and things like that, but also about the sort of like folky sort of like type thing. He probably not like me for saying folky, but they're very relaxing. Okay, it's not heavy rock or anything like that. Lend an ear. Okay, so if you would like, that's my shout out. The Wilson Waffle shout out for this week is for Josh Burnell. So you can go along and have a listen to his music on iTunes. And if you like it, then by all means buy it and support his music development. So, anything else? Well, the other interesting thing is that on Wilson Waffling, I have started some forums. Okay, now I'm not too sure where this is going at the moment, but I like to sort of like invest in a various WordPress plugins, and I found this recent plugin called BB Press. So I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. So if you go along to Wilson Waffling Live, just after Waffling with Minecraft, there's a Waffling forum. And if you click on the Waffling forum, you get to this. As you can see, there's no topics or anything, and I've separated it up into three sort of like areas to start off with. We've got a waffling forum, we've got teaching in higher education, and we've got teaching and lesson ideas. So hopefully I'll be putting some posts in there, or by all means, if you want to go along and start a post, then that would be really a topic, should I say. Then we can get some forum ideas set up and running, perhaps. So, alternatively, nothing might happen on it, and it might just stay there. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not it's of any use to anybody. So let me just check my notes from my guide. We've done the shout outs and we've done the forums, and I've reminded you about the decide now for next week. So next week will be the decide now. So so that almost like brings us to the end of Wilson Waffling Live for this week. Half an hour of sheer enjoyment. I'm sure you will agree. So thank you for anybody who's actually watching this live. Apologise that the chat room's gone down. I can't seem to log on it myself at all, so that sort of like has disappeared. I apologise for that. If you are watching this live, then thank you very much. And if you're watching on YouTube, then don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Okay, and that gives me an indication that you've actually watched it or enjoyed it or whatever. So, just to remind you that you can find me in a variety of places if you want to follow me. You can follow me on Twitter at iWilsonYSJ, and I tweet right the way through the week. So, if you'd like to come along and interact, send me a tweet or reply, or just watch and enjoy the interesting things that I actually tweet. Of course, you can also follow me on Wilson Waffling, my blog, which is at wilsonwaffling.co.uk. I'm not enjoying these shows at the moment because it's almost like getting into a promote myself video. And I'm not keen on that. I prefer to get some interaction sort of like going. But at the present moment in time, we'll sort of like, I'll keep with this format until we get some views or something. I'll think about something else to say. So by all means, go along to my blog. If you want to follow my blog, then that's wilsonwaffling.co.uk. And up at the top there, you can see the other social media icons: Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram. So if you want to go along and find more pictures of my sponsor today, which was, of course, my mom. Thank you, my mom. And if you want to go along and see more pictures of me and my mom, then by all means, pop along and follow me on Instagram. So, thank you, everybody who's come along this week and participated in Wilson Waffling Live. If you want to catch up with any of the show that you missed, by all means, go along to YouTube and it will be uploaded there shortly. It only remains for me to say thank you very much for coming along today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And I will be around next week, same time, same place. Be there or be a quadrilateral. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll catch you later.